Good people, today we'll be doing the hyperbola function, but now remember these types of function that we are looking for here, it's the part of the inverse. So we'll be mostly focusing on the inverse part of these types of function. So I hope you can consider that one. It's not just an ordinary part of function, which is just the hyperbola. We'll be focusing on the inverse part of function, which is something that is very important in grade 12. Those people are really busy with them right now. So we consider this type of function where f at x is equals to 1 over x minus 2 and then into negative 1. Now I hope you know that this x minus 2, which is x minus 2 equals to 0, and then x is equals to 2, this is going to be my x asymptote, and then my y asymptote is going to be y is equals to or negative 1. Just interpreting the equation that we have here. And then now going to equation or question 1, it's saying is the inverse of function f at x a function? Give a reason for your answer. Then I will say yes, it is. And function y, because f into negative 1 is a function, because f is a one-to-one function, because f is a one-to-one function. I hope you know what is a one-to-one function. One-to-one function, it's where we're putting the vertical line here, testing the horizontal line. The function touches the function what at some point. So that's why it's saying this function is a one-to-one function. Now B, write down the equation of the asymptote of the f inverse. Now remember, I've already written the asymptote, which 1 is equals to 2 and y is equals to negative 1. Remember, these asymptotes are the asymptotes of f. It's not an asymptote of the inverse. This is a function of f at x. Now writing the functions or the asymptotes of f inverse now, it's very important here. Remember, the inverse, what was x is going to be y, what was y it's going to be x. Exactly the same thing here, it's going to apply. This was my x asymptote, so my y asymptote is going to be y is equals to 2. This is my y asymptote. Now it's going to change, it's going to be my x asymptote, it's going to be just x is equals to negative 1. The same thing, the rule of the inverse, where the inverse is an interchange of x and y. What was y is going to be x, what was x is going to be y. It's applying here exactly the same. Don't get confused of that. Now B or C, sorry, it's saying let's find the domain of the inverse. Now the domain of an inverse, the D of an inverse. Now remember, we've already found the asymptotes. The domain talks about the x part of the function. Now you know the asymptote, it's where the graph doesn't touch. So the graph, it's not gonna touch into negative 1, so the graph doesn't exist and x is equals to 1, but it's gonna exist anywhere in the x of element of integers. That is going to be our domain. And then that was C, sorry, that was C. And then my D, it's gonna be the range. They were finding the range of the inverse. Remember, finding the range of an inverse. Remember, we've already found here, this is going to be my y asymptote. The range talks about the y values of a function. Now remember, asymptote is where the graph doesn't touch. So my y, it's not existing into y is equal to 2, but it's gonna exist in anywhere where the y is the element of the real numbers. That is what the range. This is what my domain, and then this is my range of a function. Remember, of the inverse function. Now my last question is to find the equation of the inverse. Okay, guys, now finding the equation of an inverse, which is the last question that I need to do. Finding the inverse of f at x, which is my f at x is 1 into x minus 2, and then minus 1. Now I need to find the inverse of this function. Finding the inverse of this function, now I'm going to say f into introducing y is equals to 1 into x minus 2, and then minus 1. And then from here, I have to introduce the inverse. Now, if I introduce the inverse, meaning I'm interchanging the x values and the y values. So this is a y, this is going to be x is equals to 1 into y minus 2 and minus 1. Now remember, I need to make y the subject of my formula. So I'm going to take x to the other side. So it's going to be x plus 1 is equals to 1 all over y minus 2. And then from here, this is over 1. So I'm just going to do a cross multiplication. So it's going to be y minus 2 into x plus 1, which is equals to 1. And then from here, remember I need to make y the subject of the formula. So I'm just going to divide by x plus 1 and then divide by x plus 1 both sides, and then this is going to cancel this. And then from here, I'm going to have y minus 2 into 1 all over x plus 1. And then from here, take this one to the other side. Now it's going to be y is equals to 1 into x plus 1 and then plus 2. Remember, now we've already found the equation of the asymptote of the inverse. Now this is the inverse into x into 1 into x plus 1 then plus 2. The asymptote of here is x is equals to -1, and then the asymptote here is equals to x into 2, which is exactly the asymptote that we found in the equation in number B, which was the question that of finding the equation of the asymptote of the inverse, which is what this is what the equation of the asymptote was when we are answering that question. Guys, umageba lo, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please just do that for me, guys. It really means a lot for me. Thank you so much.